Hi, my name's David Tolman. I live in Brittany, which is over here. And since 2001, I've been helping English speakers improve their French. So my main specialty is people already living in France because they're the ones who need recordings like the ones that I've been producing since 2001. Since 2001, when I started FluentFrench.com, I've produced hundreds of interviews of real spoken French. So I have French journalists who interview other French people on different subjects. And what I'd like to do for you is have you sign up for my email newsletter so that I can send you samples of these interviews, samples of these hundreds of interviews in your email once a week or so. So what I'll do is send you little samples of these interviews, and then eventually, I'll send you those for free, and then eventually I think that one of those interviews is going to interest you, and you're probably going to be interested in buying the whole interview because it's on your the subject is your hobby or something that interests you. So what I'd like to do is have you sign up for this email, and then I'll send you everything. Let me tell you a little bit about the recordings we do. They're for people who understand that the listening part of their French is the final part to becoming fluent. What I see when I help English speakers who live in France or English speakers who want to really become fluent is that they've been studying for a few years and they think they're right, or they feel that they're right on the edge of fluency, but not quite there. There's something missing. And they don't know what it is. And this is the same experience I had when I was 20 and went to France for the first time. I thought of fluency, or I saw fluency as something that was on the other side of a wall. I knew that I wasn't fluent, but I didn't quite know how far away fluency was. So when I was a student studying here in France, I wanted to become fluent. And I knew that, or I hoped that I would become fluent someday, but I didn't know how far away that was. Was that 3 months from now, or 2 years from now, or just a couple weeks from now? Was something going to just click in my mind 2 weeks from now, and I was going to become fluent by some miracle? So, and what I thought I should do is what most French learners think they should do is continue to work on the grammar, continue to work on your vocabulary, and then eventually the French will become easier for you. And you continue to work on your speaking because you're in France or because you're trying to have speaking practice somehow. So you continue to get more at ease with speaking little by little. But the problem that escapes us when we're trying to become fluent, the very final problem is the listening. So we're in a group of people. Even after we've been studying French for 3 or 4 years, we're in a group of people who are speaking French and we don't understand everything. So we can't really follow the conversation. And this is what I call the final frontier with French. The reason that people buy the recordings that I have been producing since 2001 is that they feel that they're almost on the cusp of fluency, but they're not quite there yet, and they are frustrated by the fact that they can't really hear everything, so they can't follow a conversation. So the recordings we do, you'll see when you sign up for the email newsletter, you get a you get an English translation with all of them, because I'm not trying to test your French comprehension. I'm trying to give you French comprehension. So the method that we use, our approach is very different from what you did when you were doing French comprehension back in high school and college. In high school and college, you took French comprehension tests, and what you would do is you'd listen to a little bit of spoken French, and then your teacher would quiz you on to find out what you understood. And then you would listen maybe 2 or 3 times, get a little quiz on what you understood, and then you would get the transcript and then listen again so you could see, oh yes, this was there and this was there. Maybe I should have understood this, or maybe this is normal that I didn't understand this word over here because it's a word I don't even know yet. What we're doing with these recordings that we've been producing and the transcripts and translations and footnotes is helping you match up the French with the sound with the text. So what I'm teaching you in my email newsletter is actually a matching method. It's how to learn by just matching up the sound with the text you see. And the reason we give you the translation is because I don't want you to be held up or tripped up or waste any time looking for the meanings of the words. So when I have you do your listing, when I do listing, or what I recommend is that you just do listing, just work on listing and matching. So what happens when we do normal French comprehension test, spoken comprehension test back in high school and college, is that we're being tested to see what we already know. I don't care so much about what you already know. I want to teach you as much as possible, as quickly as possible. So what I do is give you the French text and the meaning in English, and just have you learn to match up the sound that's floating up in the air there, that's coming into your ears, with the text. Because what happens when we start working with a spoken language as it's really spoken by natives is that the natives will not pronounce the word completely. They won't pronounce all the sounds because it's not necessary for another native speaker or listener to hear all the sounds before they can comprehend the meaning. So what a native speaker will do is he will just pronounce the sounds that are necessary to get the comprehension across. And if his listener doesn't understand, then he might go back and pronounce more of the sounds and be more distinct. But what we have when we're dealing with a spoken language, the spoken version of the language, is the minimum understandable sounds. So if you take a word that it has maybe, let's say, 10 sounds and 10 different vowel and consonant sounds, it might be necessary to understand that word in spoken French. You might only need to hear 3 or 4 of the sounds. And so the problem as a learner is that you need to match up the 3 or 4 sounds that you're actually going to hear with what the speaker meant. So we need to listen for real conversation and learn how things really sound, and learn to recognize the sounds that we're actually going to hear, and not just the sounds we're going to expect. So since 2001, we've been producing these recordings. We were the second company to really produce spoken French recordings that had a transcript along with them. At the time, back in 2000, 2001, we had one competitor. There was only one other person doing this. And that person since went out of business. The reason we're still selling these recordings, the reason we're still functioning by word of mouth, is because people don't have this resource anywhere else. So what we're doing that's different, you'll see it in the email newsletter, is giving you a little bit of real spoken French and giving you the French transcript and the English translation and footnotes, so that you'll understand why the French said the words in this way. So there's grammar notes and footnotes to help you so that you can concentrate on your listening and don't have to worry at all about looking things up in a dictionary or taking time to ask a friend what the grammar means. So sign up for the email newsletter. I think you'll enjoy it. I'll be sending you these samples. The samples are a lot of fun to listen to, and you'll be learning little by little how to improve your French comprehension. And what my goal is in the newsletter is to give you about 10 minutes of exercise or 10 minutes of work per week. If you're really going to improve quickly, I think you need 2 to 3 sessions of 20 to 30 minutes per week. Okay, so you don't have to work every day and you don't have to work hundreds of hours. The reason I give you 10 minutes is because I think that's the minimum for you to keep these brain connections activated. So what I know is that when we're adults and we're working on a language, we don't have the same situation as high school students and college students have. High school and college students should take an all skills approach, and that's what their teachers do. The high school and college teachers teach with an all skills approach where they're teaching you grammar and pronunciation and accent and vocabulary and listening and speaking. As an adult, the problem is that you're going to have ups and downs in your life, and you're going to have times in your life when you have more time to work on your French, and you may have time to do this grammar and you may have time and the energy to do those grammar exercises. And then there are going to be other times where something happens in your life and you don't have quite as much time. And I want to give you the email newsletter so that you can get maybe 10 minutes a week minimum. If you do the 10 minutes a week minimum, then you're going to keep your French activated and not give up on it completely. So what I do is I give you some listening each week so that you can keep your French activated and in tune and at least keep your level instead of going backwards and losing the French that you have done. And the listening is more easy. It's easier than studying grammar or studying vocabulary. It's easier to do, so it's easier for you to get started. This is a better way, in my opinion, to keep in touch with French than doing grammar exercises. And I think you'll really enjoy it. People really enjoy it, and that's why we're still in business after all these years. We're selling something that's really expensive. We got a package that's $369, and even with all the free stuff on the internet, people are still coming and buying our recordings because they are the only source for exactly what we do, so that you can really improve your ear and learn how spoken French sounds and learn to recognize these sound patterns in the midst of a conversation so that you can finally get to full listening fluency. So now with the email newsletter, everything's free, and the recordings that I'm going to give you are samples of larger recordings. Eventually, I think in a year, 6 months, in a year, you are going to find one of these interviews that interests you, and then you're going to decide if you want to buy the whole interview because it really works for you. And the whole interview would probably give you 2 or 3 months of work that you could work on your listening. So anyway, that's it. I hope you will click on the link in the video. I think the link is down at the bottom left of your screen, and click through and get started with our email newsletter. All right, that's it. Have a good day.